And we're live. Shalom, shalom, shalom to the house of Israel. I start off this lesson first and foremost by giving all honor, all glory, all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harakakudash. Double honors to the apostles, prophets, and teachers of Great Millstone. They are our spiritual fathers who rule well, teach well. Peace and salutations to the sincere Akim and Akwath who follow this truth in all diligence and all sincerity. I say Asher Shabbat to the household of faith. This is the day that Yahweh has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it, because the advent of the new moon heralds in the Sabbath for the month. It's going to tell you what day of the month the Sabbath is going to come in, right? So in actuality, there would be 5 Sabbaths in a month, and I'm dealing with the Sabbath, where the scripture say to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And I'm checking the feast days. The first day of the month, the new moon, the coming of the new moon marks a Sabbath, and the other 4 Sabbaths for the month go according to the new moon, the month that the new month begin, right? So also, this is not a black Hebrew Israelite teaching. This is not a black Hebrew Israelite doctrine. Salvation is for the people you predominantly know today as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, who are Israelites by seed line, as well as the confusion of faces called in the scripture the speckled bird heritage of Yahweh, who are also Israelites by seed line, but in appearance they look like the so-called other nations. Now, the topic today is entitled Privileges Disguised as Freedom. Privileges disguised as freedom. Many persons have come against the truth that the apostles teach, that we teach. When we tell people, according to the scriptures, that when you look around you, you are actually enslaved, they cannot see it. They cannot agree with it because why? Of the certain things they were able to get or accumulate in their life. Some of them were able to go to school, have an education, the opportunity to go to college or university to get a degree, the opportunity to get a high-paying job, and as a result, afford a house, afford a nice car, have savings in the bank, able to take vacations, so on and so forth. And they attribute these things to being free. It's freedom, not understanding that it's actually not freedom, right? So they have been extended a privilege in this kingdom, this society, under the guise, or it's masquerading as freedom. And there is a difference. And we're going to understand the difference and understand what it actually means between a privilege and a freedom, right? So I want to begin the lesson with this precept, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verses 47 and 40. I will start from verse 46 to 48. The point is in verse 48. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Now, the term forever, it's a period of time. Forever could mean it's talking for all time. Forever could mean for 1,000 years, different time periods, right? Now, this use of the word forever in regards of Deuteronomy 28 verse 46 is still active today. The curses are upon us as a sign and a wonder upon the seed of Israel, the seed of Jacob, forever. When this sign and wonder, which is the curse, is going to be lifted, would be when Yahushua makes his return to reinstate the rightful rulers as the rulers of the earth, and those in the position of rulership back to the position they were originally created to occupy. Scripture says in 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verses 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. That world goes back to age, the end of the age. So there's going to be a change, right? In this system of governance that is ruled by Esau, he disguises privileges as freedom, right? Verse 47, because thou servest not Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. So we not, our people not serving Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. They're choosing to trust in Egypt, the shadow of Egypt. They're choosing to trust the oppressor for their daily needs, rather than Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Matthew 6:33 says, but seek ye first the kingdom of power and his righteousness, and all other things shall be added unto you. But what you have our people doing, they're seeking the way of the oppressor. They're not seeking Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai for the daily bread. Right? And this is the reason why they have been indoctrinated to believe the few privileges that have been extended to them means they are free. That privilege is actually a yoke placed around you. We know in ancient times during slavery that yokes of iron were placed upon our necks according to the scriptures, right? Deuteronomy 28:68. But in today's, let's call it modern and scientifically advancing times, the literal chain, ball and chain, is not on your ankles, it's not around your neck, it's actually around your mind. So they have created prison cells in the capacity of enslaving the mind. One of the prison cells they have created to enslave the mind is creating a society that is hooked on pleasure, hooked on entertainment, the constant stimulation of your dopamine and your serotonin receptors. So you are in a constant state of high, right? So from the movies you watch, to the food you eat, to the pleasures that have been made accessible to you, you are in that constant state of excitement. And it's a privilege, and it's being disguised as a freedom. The women's liberation movement, feminism, the LGBTQ movement, all these movements, the My Body, My Choice, Planned Parenthood movement, are all privileges extended, disguised as freedom. And at a moment's notice, it will be taken away. And that's the difference. Right? So our people are not seeking Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai with joyfulness and gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. They go to the enemy. Verses 48, it says, therefore, thou shalt serve thy enemy. Or they didn't want to serve Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, only going to serve your enemy. Thou shalt serve thy enemy, which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. So you, because of the curses, you have to look to your enemy, your oppressor, to provide your daily bread. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And a lot of you are only looking at the physical aspect of the yoke of iron, or you're not seeing the spiritual aspect and connotation to the yoke of iron being placed around your neck. When you go through life, you went to school, you studied, well, you followed their indoctrination manual, you become a good student, you went to college for 4 years, you come out with a degree, you get a job and a high-paying job, and you have now become dedicated to the job, working 9 to 5, right? And you work diligently all your life up until retirement, and to afford to be able to enjoy your pension, right? And you think that's a mark of freedom. It's not, because you have actually tied your life to the system to enjoy the pleasures that the rich enjoy. Do you know most of your rich people never went to, a lot of your rich people never really went to college? The syllabus and the curriculum that you may have studied, they were given something else. The food that they eat, do you know it's not the same food that you eat? The various forms of entertainment that you are entertained by is not the same form of entertainment they are entertained by. Everything, every privilege that they have extended to you is a yoke of iron placed around you. You think your college degree means you're an actual intellectual? All your college degree proves that you dedicated yourself to 4 years of showing up to your classes, doing the studies to get the certification, to show the employer that, hey, you could be trusted to, by given a position where you're going to cases that for work, to show up to do what's required, and that's all it is. There is no wisdom or intellectual understanding or common sense attached to the fact that you have a college degree. This is why Theodore Roosevelt said, a understanding of the Bible is worth more than a college degree. And this is why your true scholars, most of us never went to college. A lot of us never even finish, never get to go to high school. We have a primary level education. Yet you're seeing the understanding displayed by these men in matters of the world. So the scriptures say we will go to our enemies for want of all things, in thirst and in nakedness, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Now, I am from the country of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And I want to share this with you because I was watching a post on TikTok by someone from the country of Trinidad and Tobago. And the government, because for the last scooters an alternative to public transportation. They were seeing it as an alternative to commute between home and the job rather than taking the bus, rather than taking a taxi. And many people, even I myself, had plans to get one. Now, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the Transport Authority, has now decreed that electric scooters cannot be ridden on the road without a license. And a license is a document stating that you have received permission from the relevant authorities to use the roadway and the vehicle in which you're going to get about on said roadway. So you have to receive permission from the government to use this vehicle on the roadway. Now, the government always masquerades itself as the government for the people, and it's not. The government actually works for the shareholders, those who actually have a say because of their economic wealth. The government was never a servant of the people, right? It's to serve the interests of the elites. It's to serve the interests of them that hold the power, those that draft the laws. With the advent of the electric scooter being pushed as an alternative means of transport, and you didn't need a license before to use it, it means less persons were going to use public transportation for their daily commute from home to work. So that's less money going to the transport authority. less persons using the taxi. So that means the taxation imposed on those who operate private taxis are going to remain, where the taxi driver going to find it difficult to cope. And as such, he's going to raise prices even more to cope for the decrease in the traveling public. The government is not going to be able to make money because you have to spend money to get a license. You have to sit a test, and then you have to spend money to renew it. Then you have to maintain it, and you must spend money. And failure to do so, to maintain the mode of transport that you use and the necessary required safety apparatuses, you're going to be fined. And the fines have been raised since this new government has came into office by 100%. So if a fine was $2,000, it has been increased to $4,000. A 100% increase in fines. So these electric scooters were being viewed as the alternative and now heading to be the preferred means of transport in our country. You have a lot of traffic to deal with, and with a vehicle like this, you can maneuver in and out of traffic. So a lot of people were starting to see this as a very good option, I myself being one of them. The government realizing the popularity, because the stores that sell these electric scooters was sold out, and they restock, and they were sold out, and they restock, and they sold out. Now they have restock. And now the transport commissioner, I think his name is Mr. Tanku, have issued this decree via the government to make it now unlawful to ride these vehicles, these electric scooters on the roadway without a license, right? Now, before we go, let me read it a bit, because I want to show you people. It says, Transport Ministry warns against use of unregistered electric scooters. And to register anything, what do you have to do? You have to pay money. So everything is about the almighty dollar. It's about taxation of the people. This government, when it came into office, it promised no increase, no taxation upon the people, no new taxes, no increase of previous taxes. And yet, no sooner have they assumed office, taxation began. The Prime Minister of the country, Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, campaigned on her political platform that you cannot tax a nation into prosperity. And now that she has assumed office, because she has gained the control of the masses based on what she has promised, you are seeing they're doing the opposite. So she is trying to tax the economy into prosperity. It says the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation is warning the public against the use of unregistered electric scooters. Now, there are persons who are saying the government was right for doing that because it carries a motto, right? And as such, as a motto, you have to place it under these restrictions, because whether it use gas, whether it use diesel, whether it use electric current, it powers a motor, and as such, safety measures should be put in place. Taxation in terms of getting a license and the required relevant permission to use these things must be enforced. Now, there are children toys with motors in it. And I remember there are parents who buy these nice little toy jeeps that carry a motor that you have to charge, and they have their children riding it on the roadway, and they walk alongside the child, supervising the child. Shouldn't these toys that have these electric motors, should a fine or a tax be placed on it? What you people going to realize, in this society, draconian laws are going to be passed limiting your freedom, limiting the privileges that they once gave to you prior. Because even the government and the powers that be that rule the earth understand there's no such thing as free will. There's no such thing as freedom, right? And they try, not they try, their aim is to control everything you do. You want pleasure, you want to enjoy the pleasure of driving a car, riding an electric scooter, flying, even watching pornography. What you have to do, you have to pay for a subscription. You have to pay. Everything is about paying, it's about money. Right? It says, against the use of unregistered electric scooters and motorcycles on the nation's roads, as well as riding without the required driving permit. In a statement, the ministry said these vehicles are mechanically propelled and therefore fall under the definition of motor vehicles in the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Act, Chapter 48, verse 50. Right? It reminded that under Section 12, Paragraph 1 of the Act, it is an offense to use, keep, or allow the use of any motor vehicle that is not properly registered. Additionally, under Section 42, Paragraph 1, person must hold a valid driving permit for the class of vehicle being operated. So if I have a Class 3 driving permit, which allows me to drive light or small motor vehicles, do I now have to go and get a separate permit to operate a scooter? Or could I use my same Class 3 permit? All these things have to be taken into consideration. And knowing how unjust governments can be, they may require that you have 2 licenses. The ministry warns that anyone found in breach of these provisions will face enforcement action in accordance with the law. And the laws that govern this place is nothing more than rules imposed upon you, whether you ask for it or not. Now, I have nothing against law and order. I am not against that. But when the law seeks to remove your right or your rights to decide what is best for you, I have a problem. It is also urging all road users to comply with the regulations to ensure safety and responsible under the nation roadways. Furthermore, the ministry says the licensing authorities reserve the right to refuse registration of any vehicle on safety grounds. So you realize, even if you were somehow able to go to the relevant authorities to try and get a license for this, they could refuse you. So you're not even guaranteed that you would meet the necessary requirements to enjoy that electric scooter that you purchase. Now let's look at the meaning of a privilege. The word privilege, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, a right, exemption, or immunity granted as a particular benefit, advantage, or favor, especially one attached specifically to a position or a office. Like, for instance, the Prime Minister of the country of Trinidad and Tobago will enjoy certain perks that comes with the office and the position that she holds. Besides her salary, there are certain kickbacks, if you will, she would enjoy. Paid vacations, meal allowance, a car allowance, all these different things. Perks, they call it. And we know that privileges, perks, exemption, immunities, all these things are temporary. That's the thing about a privilege. It's not indefinite. It's temporary. All privileges come with a temporary timestamp, meaning it can be removed at any time, dependent on the situation. For instance, the Prime Minister would be able to enjoy the privileges of her position and her office as long as she is the Prime Minister of the country. The moment she is removed or she is no longer serving in the capacity as the Prime Minister, those privileges will be removed and given to the next Prime Minister. So you realize it comes timestamp. It says a right or benefit given to some, but not others. So there are certain privileges in society masquerading as freedom being given to some and restricted from others. The police officers in the country of Trinidad and Tobago will tell you don't use obscene language, it's punishable. It's an offense and it's punishable by a fine or imprisonment. Yet, the very said police officers constantly use foul language, obscene language in their day-to-day interaction with the public. And they are not tried, they are not arrested, they do not have to appear before a magistrate. Why? Because rights and benefits have been given, extended to them and not to others. Verse 3, yes. The advantage that wealthy and powerful people have over other people in society. They have privileges that you don't have. They are able to enjoy things you would never be able to enjoy in this lifetime. That's why when we read in the scriptures in Deuteronomy 28, it says, you shall go to your enemy for want of all things. If you're cashing reading right, you don't have a say. No. You can't sit at the big boys' table. Because why? You are at the bottom. In this society where money talk, bullshit walk, and your pockets reading empty, you don't have a say. And this is the thing. Understanding privilege is completely different from freedom. You realize that democracy falls under the classification of a privilege, not a freedom. No one is truly free. Even in this truth, your freedom is directly attached to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. If you were born an Israelite, and most importantly, if you were chosen to be the elect. Outside of that, that's as free as you could possibly get. Because all of the Heavenly Father's creation is subject to his control. Right? And as such, no freedom exists without the laws. This is why the masquerading of privileges as freedom, you go understand that the freedom that you claim to have in your society here is not actually freedom, because you can't have freedom without laws. So the laws of this society dictates your freedom. And your freedom, or your masquerading of freedom, is actually privilege disguised. So under the law, you would be afforded certain what? Privileges, certain rights. And those rights could be taken away at any time it's deemed to by those who gave it to you. This is why all these women who push feminism, if they were to go to war to protect their right or their privilege or the freedom of feminism, how many women willing to pick up arms and go on and go to war for it? How many is actually willing to go to war to protect those supposed freedoms in this society? That we get a precept, right? So lucky the internet seems to be bear with me, folks. I guess I would have to switch my internet connection. And we're back. Salakia, folks. Internet difficulty yet again. Salakia, Salakia, Salakia. All right. Salakia. Let's see. I may have to open the. Give me a second. I'll have to open the Blue Letter Bible again. All right. Just bear with me. We have some scriptures to go into. Right. All right. Now, Salakia. Let's see if I could share it again. Now, as I was stating earlier, pray the Lord give me a recollection. Privileges. I was talking about democracy. Democracy is a privilege. It's not a right. It's not freedom. And privileges come with a time stamp. So what you're going to see taking place in these last days, persons are going to be doing what? Leaders of governments. They are going to be slowly stripping away your privileges or rights. You know those so-called rights that you were guaranteed under the Constitution to say that you're free? Those are not freedoms. Those are privileges extended. As long as you follow the order of society, follow the agenda, you would be able to reap some benefits, if you will. But those benefits are conditional to the times. So this is why privileges has an expiration date. And with the push towards one world governance, the implementation of the MOTB, which is the RFID chip, you're going to see all those freedoms that you once enjoyed being removed. And it was being removed through gradualism. Certain laws that didn't exist 50 years ago are being enacted now. Laws that existed back then that you were not even aware of is being brought to the forefront. And when you see these laws, you realize, but this is an unjust law. Everything is being done to control you, to remove any freedoms that you was allowed to have. And in order to enjoy those supposed freedoms again, you must submit to the system, right? Let's get, I wanted to read Proverbs 21:1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So understanding that not even the king have free will in the grand scope of things. We all are nothing more than programmed vessels of Yahweh to stand in the lot he has given to us. So if free will does not exist in life, in the realm of understanding with everything that exists around us, why would you people think in society free will exists? You think your leaders not aware of that? They understand that, hey, if people are allowed to run rampant, it's going to be chaos. But they want you to run rampant now because of the system they're building. They want to bring the civil unrest and the civil war. And this is why their laws are becoming more and more draconian. And they are not hiding it anymore. It's blatantly targeted to the privileges that you once enjoyed. It says every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but Yahweh pondereth the heart. So the Lord knows the heart of those who issue these decrees. Let me get one. Let's go to Revelation 13. What is supposed to don't know where I was going with this. Revelation chapter 13. Let's see. Notice it says the beast of the earth. Now the beast is not just, if you're looking at it in the surface understanding, a beast, or what you call a beast, is not just based on its appearance. It's also based, not just based on its ferocious appearance. it's also based on its ferocious characteristics. Right? So the beast of the earth is a similitude used by Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai to describe that nation of people who not only look a particular way, but they also have a particular set of actions. It says, and in this context, this beast, as much as it refers to a man, it refers to a kingdom. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So even though he has the appearance of appearing to be harmless, which a lamb is considered like the most meekest animal there, right? And a lamb is unimposing. When you look at a lamb, you don't watch it and get frightened, like, oh, good, I had to run for that lamb. I feel that lamb will hurt me. No. But what's going to make you afraid of a lamb is what? If it speaks as a dragon. So we know a literal lamb can do this. So this is similitude language, but still pointing to the identification of a system of governance on earth by a particular people the scriptures has long warned us about. Revelation 13. And he exercises. This is how you know it's speaking about a man and it's speaking about a system. The system of governance goes back to what? A man, to a nation of people. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. So all the science, the technologies, all the things that they were able to do, they have the earth wandering after the beast. When America was in that First World War, what did they drop to gain that domination of their enemies and thus cement them as the #1 nation in the world? It was the dropping of the atomic bomb. And they dropped it twice on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. With that weapon, the Japanese surrendered immediately. Because at that time, there was no weapon more powerful than that. We had Oppenheimer, the developer of the atomic bomb, stating, he quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu scriptures, the famous line, now I have become death. Now I have become the destroyer of worlds. And to show you, he wasn't talking about worlds as in planets. Worlds as in what? Countries, nations, people. That John 3:16 world is speaking about a people, is not speaking about everyone. Hebrews chapter 1 verses 1 and 2 talks about the creation of worlds. Scripture said the Lord divided the nations when he gave them their inheritance. So that destroyer of worlds wasn't talking about planetary constellations or any such thing. It was speaking about countries, people. And that was a great wonder back then. Now the wonders that are causing the earth to wander after the beast again is what? The various technologies they have employed. Look at their campaign in Venezuela. Some technology weapons were used, and they were able to overpower the Venezuelan military. We saw that Venezuela boasted of over 1 million strong personnel who was enlisted to fight against the Americans. And all it took was 2 to 3 hours to topple the whole Venezuelan government with the use of weapons that they have not seen. So the whole world is wandering after the beast again. It says, and he deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by his sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So some of you may wondering, but what does his lesson and what he was talking about in regards to the scooter issue in his country have to do with Revelations 13 and the beast? He calls it, it's very simple. It's something called gradualism. It starts off small, insignificant. Something in a passing thought, you will just be like, nah, that's not important. That's okay. And it's slowly going to increase in its intensity. And everything is leading up to this event spoken in the scriptures, where you're going to realize you were never free. It was nothing more than privileges extended to you under the government, which could have been taken away at any time. So for those of you who are of the belief that, hey, my government is going to protect you, you have another thing coming. I'm trying to find a precept here. Let's see if I can find it. Right. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 10 and verses 1. If I get that, let me just read over this part. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. You have to be associated with the system in order to enjoy the privileges that they gave you before. But this time is going to be strictly regulated. Right? This is why China created a social credit score system where your behavior online is directly going to affect and influence your privileges you're able to enjoy. If you say something against the government, your credit score goes down, and as a result, you're going to be barred or restricted from doing certain things. If you like going to the movies, because of that post you put up speaking against the government, you could be barred from your favorite theater or theaters for a whole year. Everything is going to be linked to that social credit score system so they can monitor your behavior. All of this is about control. Regardless of how they write it, how they put it, how they disguise it, we don't care how they paint it up, it goes back to control. Because why? Their aim is to control everybody. And failure to do so is going to incur the swiftest and harshest penalties. So who knows, someday maybe this lesson in the near future will be regarded as, hey, this person, Abaniah, he was speaking these things. We had to go and arrest him. Don't be surprised. The famine of the word is upon us. Isaiah chapter 10, verses 1. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. So they're passing laws that are unjust, that are unfair, that only benefits a certain group of people. And we know Israel is at the bottom of all. Let's read that same verse in the NLT. What sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. It says, woe unto them in the NIV that make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees. Everything you need a permission, you need a license, you need a passport. If you are free, why can't you decide to go this in the morning and say, I decide I'm living in Trinidad, let me go and migrate to Barbados? You need permission to do so. I feel like I want to go and live in the Americas. You can't cross over. You need permission. You need a passport. but yet you're claiming you're free. And while these governments, they go into other countries unrestricted, unopposed, because they believe they have the right to go wherever they want, to take whatever their hearts desire. This is the, let's see, the CBS Bible. Woe to those enacting crooked statutes and writing oppressive laws. And this pairs up well with Micah chapter 2, verses 1 to 2. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. They have the power to influence policy. They have the power to influence the course of your life. Because why? What did the curse say? You will have to go to your enemy for want of all things. So they hold the power over the privileges that you hold so dear. And they disguise these privileges as freedom. It says, and they cover fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Imagine it is unlawful now for you to decide what type of education you want for your children. You have to be a part of the enrollment in the school system. Because God forbid that you train your children in the ways. Hey, hold on, give me a second. Salakia. Lost my train of thought. Salakia. Micah 2 and verse 2, and they covered fields and take them by violence and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And that's what's taking place. These persons who pass these laws, you think they have to worry about it like you have to worry about it? There's a particular precept I'm looking for. Let's see. Right, Zechariah 11:5. This is another Yapa precept. Because they're going to be using the justification when everything kicks off in its full capacity, and they're going to be justifying the evils that they do by what I'm about to read here. Zechariah 11 verses 5. It says, let's see. Thus saith Yahweh power, my power, feed the flock of the slaughter. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. So they're going to draft these unjust laws, knowing that it is indeed unjust, because these laws only favor one group of people and it totally oppresses another. There is no fair dealings. Under this system, you are not regarded as a human being. You are regarded less than. Even dogs and animals occupy a higher position than you. You are considered, you are relegated to what? Collateral damage. Easily expendable. You are expendable. Everybody went to cinema and they watched that movie Expendables and they were intrigued by it, not understanding what does it mean to be expendable. You are not valued, you are not treasured, you are not desired, you are considered an expendable asset, something that you could replace on a dime, right? Something important, you don't try to get rid of it. It's not expendable. Like salvation. Salvation is not expendable. You want to hold on to that for dear life. So with the laws they pass, they're going to regard you as a what? A lawbreaker. And as such, they're going to carry out the punishment. So now what I want all to realize, with these decrees they're coming out with, the punishment is going to get more and more draconian, to the point where you could be publicly executed for breaking the laws. And that's going to be the justification they're going to use. If you obey the laws, you wouldn't have no problem. Just do what we say. In 2 Maccabees 7, where you think the king was trying to persuade the mother and one of her 7 sons to do? Oh, hey, just obey the king decree. Eat the swine flesh now. Eat it, and the king will call you his cousin. And you go have favor, and you go have wealth, and you go have riches. And it have people who go see that as a sweet deal. Hey, why should I die when I could enjoy some semblance of peace and happiness on it? And they're going to give in. Because what the king offering seems like freedom from the alternative of the position you find yourself in. Some of you, if you was in that position of the 7 sons, some of you might have taken the king offer. Definitely a lot of you would have taken the king's offer, because he is giving you the freedom from debt with perks. And you're going to see that as the better alternative. And only a small few is going to reject that supposed freedom and that supposed privilege that the king gave you, and choose the privilege and the freedoms of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. And you see, your physical eyes can't see that. You need your spiritual eyes, because the scriptures say, eyes have not seen, nor ears heard, nor have it entered into the hearts of man, the things which Yahweh had prepared for them who love him. Right? Reading it again, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be Yahweh, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. So this is partly the reason why they are so confident in their draconian laws that they pass. Because, hey, if this God that they preach about allow them to be under us and for we to rule over them, man, let we make that law as harsh. Because if he don't care about them, we definitely not going to care about them. And this is the type of mindset and belief you see prevalent in today's society. So in closing, don't be fooled. The prophets of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai are telling you and showing you, according to scripture, the evils of this society. What is being masqueraded as freedom is nothing more than a privilege, and a privilege can be taken. Those privileges are snares unto your soul. They are snares. You think you're free when you're really not. Right? They come like this. You raise up an animal in a small cage, and he starts to get sick because he can't get in the cage. He could barely move around. And what happened? The animal becomes sick and die, because depression, stress, all of that is going to contribute to the animal's underperformance and eventual death. So you realize now, the system realizes it's more beneficial now to not place all that restriction, allow them certain freedoms, and you wouldn't even have to police them. You wouldn't even need an overseer over them. They're going to police themselves. They're going to police each other. They're going to fight so hard to keep the little privileges that we offer them. And that is what's taking place. Privileges are disguised as freedom. So with that, I pray that this little lesson was edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. I'm your brother Abaniah of the Camp Heralds of Yahushai, saying Shalom, Labakariam, Asher Shabbat to you all, and see you, beloved Akim and Akwath, for the next live lesson. Shalom to the household of faith.